8 signs you have not healed from your last relationship. Some wounds do not bleed. They just quietly shape every decision you make after them. The way you trust, the way you love, the way you respond when someone gets too close, the way you pull back right before something real can begin, the way you leave before you can be left. You do not even notice it happening, until one day you look up and realize the last relationship ended 2 years ago, and it is still running your life, still influencing who you let in, still controlling how far you allow things to go, still sitting in the background of every new beginning, quietly whispering, "Do not do this again. My name is Mr. Wesley." And today we are going somewhere most men refuse to go, into the unhealed places, not to live there, but to finally name what has been operating below the surface without your permission. Because healing and moving on are not the same journey. Most men move on. Very few actually heal. And the difference between those two paths determines the quality of every relationship that comes after. These are 8 signs you have not healed from your last relationship. Sign 1. You are still having conversations with them in your head. Not occasionally, regularly. You are rehearsing arguments that will never happen. Replaying moments you cannot change. Still explaining yourself to someone who is no longer in the room, still hearing their voice commenting on your decisions. That is not memory. That is occupation. They are still living rent-free in mental space that belongs to your future. And until that space is reclaimed, everything you try to build going forward will be constructed on ground they still occupy. Sign 2. You have become emotionally unavailable and called it independence. After a painful relationship, many men make a quiet internal decision, never again, and what starts as a reasonable boundary slowly becomes a wall. Not just around the heart, around everything. You keep conversations surface level. You stop letting people past a certain point. You become fluent in fine when you are nowhere close to fine. And you tell yourself, this is growth. This is knowing better. This is being smart. But there is a difference between a man who is selective about who he lets in and a man who has decided the cost of letting anyone in is too high. One is wisdom, the other is a wound wearing the mask of maturity. Sign 3. You compare everyone new to them, not always unfavorably. Sometimes you are looking for someone who feels like them. Sometimes you are looking for the complete opposite. Either way, they are still the measuring stick every new person is held against. And any man who is measuring new people against an old relationship is not actually seeing the person in front of him. He is seeing a reflection of someone who is no longer there. That is not fair to the new person, and it is not honest about where you actually are. Sign 4. You sabotage things that are genuinely going well. Everything is good. She is good. The connection feels real and right. And something in you starts quietly looking for the exit. You pick unnecessary arguments. You create distance from nothing. You find reasons it will not work before it has had the chance to prove otherwise. You push until she either leaves or gives you a justification to leave. And you call it intuition. You call it standards. But if this pattern shows up consistently with people who are genuinely good for you, that is not discernment. That is self-protection from a man who got hurt badly enough to decide that closeness itself is the danger. Sign 5. Your anger from that relationship is leaking into your current life. You are angrier than the situation calls for, not just in relationships, everywhere. Small things escalate faster than they used to. You have a shorter fuse and a longer memory. The world feels more irritating than it did before. Unprocessed pain does not disappear. It transforms. It becomes irritability, cynicism, a low-grade frustration with everything that has nothing to do with everything, and everything to do with the one thing you never allowed yourself to fully feel. Sign 6. You cannot be genuinely happy for people in healthy relationships. When you see a couple who are clearly good together, something in you tightens, not dramatically, just a subtle pull of discomfort, a quiet cynicism, a voice that says it will not last or they do not know what is coming. That reaction is information. A healed man can celebrate what others have because he genuinely believes it is available to him too. A wounded man sees other people's happiness as evidence of something he lost or something he was never meant to have. Sign 7. You are still defining yourself by what happened. Your identity has quietly reorganized itself around the wound. You are the man she left, the man who was betrayed, the man who gave everything and received nothing in return. That story has become so central to how you see yourself that removing it feels like removing yourself entirely, but you are not what happened to you. You are not the worst thing someone did to you. And a man who builds his identity on his wound will unconsciously seek situations that confirm it, because at least a familiar pain is a pain he already knows how to survive. Sign 8. You have never actually sat with the grief. This is the root beneath all the others. Most men never grieve a relationship properly. They get angry. They get busy. They get into the next situation before the dust has settled on the last one. They do everything except sit with the actual loss and feel it completely and honestly. But grief that is not processed does not go away. It goes underground. And underground grief is the most dangerous kind because it operates below your awareness, shaping your choices and your responses without your conscious permission for years after the relationship ended. You have to feel it to heal it, not perform it, not talk about it endlessly, but genuinely sit with the loss. Acknowledge what it cost you. Give yourself permission to grieve the future you believed you were building together. And then, when you have honored that loss completely, release it to God and walk forward unburdened. Psalm 3:4-18 says the Lord is close to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. God is not waiting for you to be healed before he draws close. He is closest to you in the very place you are most afraid to go. Go there. Do the work. Get free. Let me leave you with this. Healing is not weakness. It is the most courageous thing a man can do, because it requires him to stop running, stop distracting, and stop pretending, and finally face what the pain has been trying to show him all along. The man on the other side of that healing is not the same man who went in. He is freer. He is clearer. He loves differently. From a place of wholeness instead of wounds. From a place of choice instead of fear. That man is worth becoming. Do the work to become him. If this spoke to you today, share it. There is a man in your circle right now carrying something from his last relationship that is silently destroying his next one. Drop a comment below. Which sign hit closest to home? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one. This is Mr. Wesley.